This is the 60 Plus podcast,
I'm Janet.
and I'm Joe. How are you today, Janet?
I'm good, Joe. How are you?
Uh,
Oh, no, no. What's the matter?
little stomach bug over the weekend,
Oh,
but
that's not good. That's not
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
I hope you're not contagious right
I
now.
don't think so. I mean, people always say, "Oh, I'm not contagious." How do they
They
know?
don't
They
know.
don't know. They're
And
making
you
it up.
saying I think so doesn't make me feel better. Maybe you should lie to me.
I'm not contagious, Janet.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Come here.
I
Let
am
me
now not
shake your
touching
hand.
a thing.
You're a bit of a germaphobe, I think.
Oh, well, when it comes to possibly getting sick,
I
yes.
know. I know. I don't like being sick, and I didn't like being sick this past weekend. But it's been a few days, so
You're on the mend. You're on the
I
mend.
think so.
And you're ready to do
I'm all
this
washed
podcast.
out, as
You're
some people.
washed.
I'm washed out.
Washed out.
What are we talking about today, Janet?
Well, we're talking about a trend. This is one of our hot topic episodes, and the trend is called Living Apart Together, or LAT. Do you know about this?
Only because you brought it to my attention.
So, living apart together, it's about making the decision that you are going to have this intimate relationship, but you're going to maintain your own living space,
Your own home,
your own home.
whether it be an apartment or a house or
Right.
a tent out in someone's front yard.
It doesn't really matter. The point is that you have your own space to go to, whether that's, multiple homes or multiple apartments or one of you's living in your parents' basement. I don't know. And this
Well, in the
is
60 plus demographic, I don't know there's many people living in their parents' basement.
probably not. Their children are probably living in their basement,
Probably.
however.
Yes.
So it is a trend with both young and old, apparently. But for people in our age group, this is a trend that maybe has different implications and also perhaps different rationale and reasoning of why this may or may not work.
All right. So we came across an article. I don't have it in front of me. Do you?
I do have it
Where's
in
it
front of
from?
me. It is from stylecraze.com. I
Okay.
have no idea what that is, but let's go with it. It
Okay.
seems like a fairly reputable source. And, this stuff
It's
is
on the internet. It must be.
yeah, it must be true. But you know what? This is not heavy duty stuff, right? So, we're not going to do any like psychological profiling here. It's just kind of talking about the pros and cons of this concept. So, we can talk about what they say are the pros and the cons, advantages and the disadvantages, and maybe relate it to people in our age group. I don't know if you want to start, Joe, if you want to talk about the first advantage.
Sure. One of the advantages is that you have your own space. I know there are many times when I really enjoy having my own space. I get to set it up the way I want. I get to decorate it the way I want. I get to be how I want to be in my own space. I don't have to worry about anybody else.
Right. It's your personal space, and you do in it what you want to do. And there's nobody really to answer to, right? And it's a good thing. And so, yeah, I can see how that would definitely be an advantage of this situation.
What do you
Right.
think? I mean, you have your own space.
I do.
Do you like having your own
Of,
space?
of course I do.
All right.
It's like I get to have my favorite dinner when I want to.
But you have to cook it.
Don't you want to know what my favorite dinner is?
Sure. What's your favorite dinner?
Nachos.
Really? Is that your
That's
favorite
my
dinner?
favorite single dinner.
Oh, I make excellent nachos.
I love my nachos.
Okay. I don't have them very often.
It's so fast too.
It's very fast, but it's delicious. And
Yes,
I always
it's my
make
secret delight.
I always make way too much.
But that's the good thing.
No, because
You
then
get to eat
I
it all and nobody's watching.
Yeah, well, when you step on the scale the next morning,
Ah,
I'm watching
that's okay. All right.
once in a while.
So
Nachos. I'm a little surprised
You're
by that.
surprised at my
I
nachos?
am surprised by that.
Yeah, nachos are a beautiful thing, and you can get real creative with them and have your secret desires when nobody's
What do you
watching.
put on your nachos?
Well, cheese for one. Definitely jalapenos.
Okay.
Because I like it spicy.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me.
Tomato, and at least those are the three things that must be there.
Tomato or
then-
salsa?
No, I put like real tomatoes, but I'll have salsa and then guacamole. And I also use Greek yogurt, but it just tastes like sour cream.
Okay.
And I'll mush that all in with oh, it's just so good. I want to go home now and eat nachos. So this
I don't.
you don't. Okay, yeah.
I like
Well,
nachos, but after this
yeah,
past
you
weekend,
just stick
nachos
with
are
the
not.
chicken broth, Joe. You'll be fine. Okay.
All right.
The second advantage is you will argue less with your partner. So in LAT relationships, you'll spend less time with your partner, which I guess that means you're going to argue less.
Well,
If you're not together, you can't argue.
what are most of the arguments about?
Oh,
It's about things in your own space. It's about the toilet paper being
right,
coming from the
maybe.
bottom of the roll,
Oh
the top of
gosh,
the
yeah,
roll,
yeah,
or
yeah. Not putting the toilet seat down.
I'm a bit of a nut about this. I am a bit of a nut about this, and I put the lid down too.
Yes, well, that's very nice and thoughtful of you. So there's less scope for such arguments. That's the point there. So
Is this what?
scope. But just to your point, you have less to argue about because you're not arguing about every little thing in your home together, right? Okay, number 3, Joe, you're on.
All right. So independence. You're on your own, not spending as much time with your partner, and I
Well, you're
imagine
still being in a relationship.
you're still in
though.
your. But in this article, they talk about the 70-30 rule,
Yeah,
and they say you should spend 70% of your time with your partner and 30% not with your partner.
right, right.
Well, that 30% of the time, you get to be more
Do what
independent,
you want
do what you want
right.
to do.
Yes,
Maybe you're an outdoors person and the other person is not.
right. And it says here that successful relationships are about two independent individuals who decide to share their lives and build their relationships stronger. I really like this because I've said that I have this image in my head that you're like two strong trees, right? And you have two strong trunks and your branches intertwine and that's how you come together. But alone, you're still strong and you're still individuals that have full lives and coming together just makes it more beautiful and enjoyable.
That's
So,
an interesting analogy. I like
thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Did you come up with that
I
yourself?
did. I came up with it all by myself.
Wow. While you were eating nachos?
Yes. I often think of these things when I'm eating nachos.
Okay.
I do my best thinking when I eat nachos. Anyway.
All right. So, next advantage, according to this article, from what is it, stylecraze.com?
Yeah, right. Let's mention that again.
Less yet quality time. So, less time together, but the time that you're together is quality time.
Yes. And you know what? Quality time is isn't that like the 5
It's
love
one of the
languages?
5 love languages,
Do you
yes.
remember what they all are? It's a test.
It's a tag. I was told there'd be no test today. Uh, touch,
Yeah.
gift giving,
Yes.
quality time,
Words of
words of
Support.
support.
and wait, physical touch,
Yeah.
quality time, acts of service.
Oh, acts of service.
Right, right. Well, I guess the
I
trick
love
there
this
is to understand what languages they value the most.
It is true. That is very true.
And vice versa,
Yes.
right? So it's interesting. Well, that's a whole nother podcast,
Yes,
perhaps.
it is. We should do that
We should do that one
and see if they change as
over
you get older.
time.
Yes.
I think they must. I would think so. Well, and I think it's tied to this whole, idea of independence too. Maybe you don't need the same things that you did when you were just starting a family or whatever versus now.
I think you're probably right about that.
Right.
So, because you're spending less time together, the time that you spend together, maybe there's more planning involved. Maybe
It becomes more precious, the time,
it
right?
does. Maybe you're more willing to spend money when you're together.
Okay.
No, like go out on a
I see what
fancy
you're
dinner,
saying. I see what
or
you're saying, that you plan
go
the
to the
time.
theater, or you plan the time.
And of course, there's also absence makes your heart grow fonder too, right?
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
Right. And it says here that communication is improved. And communication, of course, is a cornerstone of any good relationship.
I totally agree with that. I think it's the number one thing in a relationship.
Yeah, yeah.
Without it, you're just guessing.
Right, right. Yeah. And and usually you're wrong.
We're not mind readers.
No, we make assumptions and we think we know what's going on and you don't necessarily know. Yeah. So number 5 is, in terms of advantages, there will be more intimacy. And so I guess they're saying here that, with a very structured routine, that can maybe have a negative effect on that level of intimacy.
It is a little counterintuitive, though.
Right. There's more excitement. If you haven't seen somebody in a while, and, I guess that adds to that anticipation, and perhaps that is, together yet apart can boost your intimacy levels. That's what it's saying here.
Okay, I can't disagree. I think that I don't know that it's necessarily true for everyone, but generally speaking, it's probably true.
Yes. And then I guess there are some disadvantages
Oh,
too.
aren't there always?
Right. So the LAT arrangement only works if both people are fully on board. It's saying here in LAT relationships, couples try to avoid dealing with issues instead of sorting them out. Following are some of the disadvantages of this relationship. And to your earlier point, number 1 is expensive.
Yes. Well, you've got two households. You've
Yeah.
got two homes, whether it be in an apartment or a condo or a full single family home or whatever it is. There's two of them. There's two electric bills. There's two heating bills. There's two air conditioning bills. There's maybe two mortgages
Right. Right.
or rents.
Right. And there's all that expensive stuff that you're doing when you get together.
Well, there's that. Well, and you each have a couch. You each have
Yeah.
all the kitchen stuff.
Yes.
Assuming that's the case,
Right. Right.
because if 30% of the time you're not eating, the relationship isn't going to last very long at all.
Okay. And then the second one, I think you're up.
Trust issues.
Trust.
Mm.
Let's talk about cornerstones of a relationship.
Trust is maybe the second biggest thing.
I don't know. I think trust comes before communication, because you can communicate a lot, but what if the person isn't telling the truth? Oh, that could be a problem.
It can be a problem.
Yeah.
No, it's
How you're
absolutely.
supposed to know. So trust, I think, is critical, right?
So
But
if you're
that could
absent,
take time. That could take time too.
sure. But if you're absent 30% of the time,
Exactly.
if someone's suspicious,
Mm-hmm.
even if there's no reason to be suspicious, it can create trust issues.
Right. So it says it is essential to build trust with your partner if you are in a relationship. If you are in an LAT relationship, you should stay faithful. But some people use LAT relationships as an opportunity to start other relationships and cheat on their partners. If you want to keep your relationship stronger, you should value your bond and have transparency in your relationship, which is, of course, back to honest communication.
Hmm.
And maybe honest communication is really what we're talking about here.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah, when I said communication was
No,
key,
no,
I
I
didn't mean
understand. I understand. I'm just
just blathering
putting
on.
I'm putting a dot on that I, and I'm crossing my T's.
Okay.
The next one is it's socially less acceptable. Now, I think that this point is probably better made with the younger set here, right? Because there's this anticipation that, you meet somebody, you start to, be exclusive, and then maybe you move in together, and then that puts you on the trajectory for marriage, et cetera, et cetera. Well, if you're in LAT, people are going, oh, what's going on with you two? Like, blah, blah, blah. I think maybe in our age group, that's less of an issue. I don't know. Am I wrong about that? So it's saying here there's a lot of misconceptions about the LAT relationship. Most people believe that real relationships are the ones in which couples share the same home and life goals. So, I think that if you're older and you have been living alone and you have a full life, maybe it would be more acceptable to understand that, well, we're together and we're committed to each other, but we're also still maintaining that full life that we've built for ourselves. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I'm trying to think of any example of like people that I know in my life
Mm-hmm.
that this might apply to, and I'm not coming up with anybody because they're just dating, as far as I'm concerned. It's not like
Okay, so we'll see. Maybe that's the misconception then.
maybe.
Yeah,
But do you know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. It's like hard to put a label on it. It's like, what is this? We spend a lot of time together, if that's a 70-30 rule or whatever, but we are not living together. We have our own lives. I don't know what you would call that. Super dating? Dating turbo?
Turbo dating.
Turbo
I,
dating.
I don't know if I like that idea. Uh,
Yeah, I guess you
it's like
call it
speed dating, like
LAT.
LAT. Well, that's what this is about, right?
Right, right.
Living apart together.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be, like you said, more acceptable for older people
Mm-hmm.
because it's more likely that they've been in a
Long
living
relationships.
together kind
Yes.
of relationship
Maybe they've been
previously.
married. Maybe they've lost their partner in
Sure.
some way, shape,
Hmm.
or form. They have their own families. How do you navigate that? So, holidays and whatnot. Oh, it's also complicated. Forget it. I'm just not going to do anything.
Well, and we touched on this before we started recording. Maybe one of the partners has children living at home.
Ooh, that could really complicate things.
In our age group, they'd likely be older children.
Right. Then it would make sense from the child's perspective that you're maintaining your own space.
Hey, Bobby, we're moving in with my girlfriend. Dad, I'm 30.
Otherwise, with LAT, it's, hey, Bobby, I won't be home until tomorrow. Deal with it. Make nachos for dinner.
Go for it, Dad.
Yeah, right.
Another disadvantage of the LAT relationship is the occasional loneliness.
Oh, you will feel lonely and left out, it says.
At times, I imagine that's true.
People who are in LAT relationships often feel lonely and vulnerable. Spending some time alone is good, but being lonely most of the time is not so good. This is what the article is saying.
That's her reading the article
Yes,
voice.
that's me. Relationships work and look more beautiful with moments and memories that are being made by a couple being together. Well, I guess that's valid. But this is why they're saying, this isn't for everybody.
No, I don't think it is.
No, it's not. And you have to think about things like how much do you value your alone time and how rigid are you with your living space and your independence? And how much do you miss the person, right? When you're not with them? I don't know. I guess there's a bunch of things to consider there.
And do you get a drawer at the other person's house to keep your socks and underwear?
Get a toothbrush, that's it. I got no extra storage space for you. Sorry.
There's some bags in the corner. You can use those.
Bring a suitcase. No, you can't judge anything at this point of our lives, especially. You have to do what works for you. And, if it's not working for you, then you move on, right? So, missing out on shared experiences is the last disadvantage. I can totally see that one.
You know what this kind of reminds me of is when you're bringing up children. Children are like very young kids and like say their first word, or and someone's away,
Yeah,
someone's at the office, or someone's traveling, or
right.
and you miss those things.
Yes,
They're unplanned things. There are things that just kind of happen.
right.
You don't want to miss out on those shared
Right. And
experiences.
it says here, there are some treasured moments in everyone's life that they would want to share with someone very special and close to heart. When you are living away from your partner, you may not be able to share such wonderful moments with them.
Sometimes those shared experiences, those valuable, treasured moments, are nothing much. It might just be a little thing that happens during the day, or
Mm-hmm.
just a funny little thing that happens, or cooking dinner together, for instance.
So in the end, this is talking about, does it work? Does the LAT relationship work? And it basically says it works on mutual understanding and trust between couples. So if you want to enjoy the benefits, then you should work hard to keep it, which means talking about how's it going to work and making the time that's necessary to foster the relationship and come to some level of commitment.
Is that any different from a regular kind of single household relationship?
We just went through the whole thing about what makes it a little bit different in terms of the advantages and what makes it a little bit different in terms of the disadvantages. There's a lovely infographic here. Too bad we can't share it.
But you
with
know
our
this is a
listeners.
podcast, right, Janet? I mean, we have
I'm
been
gonna-
at this for a
I'm
little
going
while
to print
now.
this out and put it on my wall.
Put it on your fridge.
Yes. I don't know, Joe. What do you think? Do you think LAT is right for you?
I don't know.
Mm,
I don't know.
the jury's out, huh?
So much of it depends on your partner.
Right.
Is it right for me? Well, it depends on the partner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like a whole slew of partners I'm talking about.
They're lining up at the
They're
door,
not.
folks.
They're not.
It's a revolving door, actually. It just got installed last week.
It's just a screen door, no latch. I can't answer that question.
I think you don't want to answer that question.
Why?
I
No,
don't know.
it really
I don't know.
depends
You
on the
tell
part.
me. You're
It-
being so cagey.
Am I being cagey? Is it right for you?
I don't know. I'd have to try it.
In the abstract, do you think there's any situation in which it could work for you?
I think so. I think it
Okay,
could.
I can say
Yeah,
the same.
I think so. I mean, I do, enjoy my independence.
Hmm.
I do enjoy my own space, but I also have a desire to share my life with someone. So I can see how it would.
You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Now, that's just See, now that's the cultural norm that you just quoted.
Oh no, it goes either way.
No, what I'm saying is that LAT is about exactly what I just said.
Hmm.
You're in a committed relationship, but you still have your independence and your own personal space.
Hmm.
But you have open communications about how it's going to work, and you plan that time together, and there's no feeling of vulnerability around it because it's still a commitment.
I
They
don't.
did say, we watched a video about this too. There was a line in there about what you
You get the treasured part of a coupledom while you're keeping your independence.
correct. And it also said something about the three factors that you really want to make sure, it leads to higher satisfaction, more commitment, and less infidelity.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
That's interesting. I wonder why that is. Is it because familiarity breeds contempt and you're looking for a little something on the side?
I don't know. Maybe you get caught up in all this bring in the groceries type of stuff. And,
The mundane kind of.
I don't really know. I would venture to guess it keeps it a little bit more exciting, right? Perhaps. I don't know. Like they said, there's a higher level of intimacy. That's important. Intimacy. Have you ever heard that?
No.
Yes.
Say that again?
Intimacy. 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 So, in other words, you see into me. That's
Ah.
intimacy.
Okay. I wasn't catching the.
That's okay, Joe. You have to be quick around here,
Well,
You've been sick. It's all right. Your uptake is not with it.
you know what? I need some nachos. That's what I need.
You need nachos,
need
and
nachos.
more chicken broth.
Oh, yeah, the chicken broth. The chicken broth has been helpful.
Well, that's good. I'm
Yes.
glad. And that was my advice. I want to go on record. I'm glad it worked for you.
Yes, I put a little rice in there. It was.
Yes,
good.
perfect. Yeah, something you would give a dog when when they're sick. It has universal application.
I've got to remember to take my heartworm medicine.
Bow wow.
All right, so I think we've
We've
beat this.
definitely,
Yes.
I think we've conquered this hot topic.
Anything you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I'm just so glad that we had this time together, Joe.
For the 60 Plus podcast, I'm Joe.
I'm Janet. Bye.